In the beginning there was nothing. All was emptiness. There was only space. Before there were the heavens, there was no earth. And when there was no earth, there was no sky. Balinese Hinduism, a truly unique fusion of the archaic Malayo-Indonesian beliefs and rituals, and a multitude of Hindu and Buddhist influences, introduced to the island between the 8th and the 16th centuries by numerous spiritual leaders and invading forces. Modern Balinese Hinduism now encompasses a vast range of practices and doctrines of both Hinduism and Buddhism, carefully grafted into the base of the ancient religious backbone of animistic ancestral worship and the belief in the nature spirits of fire, water, earth, sun, mountains, and the sea. Besaki Temple, also known as Hulaning Bali Raja, the head of Bali, is the supreme temple and the major focus of divine power in Balinese Hinduism. Located on the southwestern slope of the highest mountain, Gunung Agung, with spectacular views over the whole of southern Bali. Pura Besaki is not a single temple, but a sprawling complex consisting of many separate shrines and compounds, united through ritual and history into a single sanctuary. There are more than 80 temples in all, spread along parallel ridges over a distance of more than 5 kilometers. The highest of these, Pura Penkubengang, lies amidst beautiful groves in a state pine forest. Most of the temples, however, cluster around the main enclosure, Pura Penetaran Agung. Even though the area around Gunung Agung was already known as a sacred place for animistic ancestral worship in ancient times, we usually associate the temple's history with the great priests of the Hindu traditions in Bali, beginning with Resi Dangyang Markandeya. This spiritual pioneer arrived from the foothills of Gunung Raung in East Java with a group of followers and set about establishing a spiritual community on the slopes of Mount Agung. Resi Markandeya taught a belief in one almighty God known as Sangyang Vidivasa, to be worshipped in his many manifestations through offerings of fire, water, fragrant flowers, and rice. In time, prayer and offerings became inseparable from daily life, necessary in order to ensure the blessing of every venture. This preoccupation with religious ceremonies, or vali, so dominated the everyday life that the island became known as Bali. Over the centuries, mainly due to the arrival of thousands of Hindu priests, nobles, soldiers, and artisans who fled Java to escape their Muslim conquerors, Balinese Hinduism, or Agama Tirtha, the religion of the holy water, developed into a strong and vibrant religion, where ancestral worship has successfully melded with the many different Hindu and Buddhist teachings and beliefs. The focal point of Balinese Hinduism is the Supreme Creator, known as Sangyang Vidivasa, beyond good and evil, life and death. This omnipotent life force is manifested in everything tangible and intangible, and worshipped directly as well as through the many manifestations through which God becomes comprehensible and accessible to the aspirant. The Holy Trinity, Trisakti, is a representation of this power in its 3 orientations: Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Siva, the destroyer. Beneath this supreme trinity is an extensive hierarchy of lesser deities representing every aspect of nature. The universe itself is split into 3 levels: the dominion of the gods, the dwelling place of humankind, and the underworld of evil spirits and demons, Bur, Bwa, and Swa. The philosophy which gives order to all things is a reflection of a divine order. The macrocosmos, or Bwana Agung, is reflected within the microcosmos, the Bwana Alit, and never can one be separated from the other. It is this replication of the divine order in all physical aspects relating to space and orientations that leads to one most important thing: balance, the ultimate goal of Balinese Hinduism. God is both creator and destroyer. Good and evil are the two opposing and omnipresent forces. By preserving this balance, the Balinese are able to minimize destruction and disaster, simultaneously promoting peace and health, while accepting the coexistence of both. Every Hindu belief reflects an understanding and respect of the universe, an order which dominates this culture. Unique in this world, this complex blend of Hinduism, ancestor worship, and animism is structured in a series of rites and ceremonies that mark all stages of life from birth till death. The aim is to reach peace of spirit and harmony in this material life. In practicing their faith, Hindu followers try to achieve a spiritual balance of worship between tattva, philosophy, susila, etiquette, and upachara, ritual. The upachara, the rituals of holy sacrifice, panchayajna, are divisible into 5 categories: Deva Yajna, ceremonies for the gods; Pitra Yajna, ceremonies for the ancestors; Rasi Yajna, ceremonies for the saints and founders of the religion; Manusa Yajna, life cycle ceremonies; and Bhuta Yajna, ceremonies to neutralize the negative influences from the natural and supernatural worlds. This ceremony here at the Buntayung Temple is a Deva Yajna, a large religious ceremony called Karya, Agung, Dhirga, Yusa, Bhumi. It is held to thank God in all his manifestations for allowing humankind to live in harmony, both spiritually and materially. Smaller ceremonies, which we celebrate every 6 months, may need a week of preparation. For a big ceremony like Karya, Agung, Dhirga, Yusa, Bhumi, however, it takes over a year of planning and intensive preparation by all villagers. It is a communal responsibility, and all members of the community are expected to take their share in the work. Under the leadership of the Prince of Ubud, the festival committees get together to outline the needed work and necessary timeframes, which the group leaders then convey to their own helpers to ensure timely completion. The numerous nyayas leading to this event are also important social and religious gatherings intended to deepen the social bonds between the villagers. These altruistic preparation ceremonies take place at the temple. The men construct temporary wooden structures, decorate the temple, create masks and figures to be used for the ceremony. The women all get together to prepare the offerings, such as cakes, fruit baskets, and the very sophisticated fruit and flower towers. At the same time, some village musicians rehearse gamelan music. For the food preparations, women cook rice and vegetables, whereas the men focus on the various meat products. It is also important to note that it's a major task to provide the large voluntary workforce, priests and musicians, with food during the preparations and during the ceremonies. As for myself, I meet friends, talk and have fun, but also learn new creative ways of making offerings, and most importantly, I hope to please the gods with my work. Even though Buntayung village is preparing the temple complex and provides most of the entertainment for the upcoming ceremonies and festivities, all surrounding villages take part in the festival. It will be a proud display of religious unity and social harmony. After months of preparation, the day of the festivities finally arrives, and the villagers begin the long procession from Junjungan to the temple of Buntayung. The female participants are dressed in their most beautiful traditional costumes, adorned with jewelry and flowers, carrying the prepared fruit and flower offerings on their heads. The entire parade is accompanied by Belaganjur music, an energetic Balinese percussion orchestra of drums, cymbals, gongs, and chimes. The men carry the barong and rangda masks with their associated symbols like weapons, umbrellas, and flags. However, for a short while, I carried the rangda mask myself. My brother Agus, an accomplished musician and music teacher, usually plays hand drums in the processions. Besides the major communal offerings associated with a particular ritual, each family brings its own large and colorful offering to a temple festival. The families also stay together in the processions and later on in the temple. Here you can see me with my mother walking. It's a spectacular sight, seeing all the women of a neighborhood carrying these towering offerings in procession to a temple. At the temple, offerings are placed according to their destination and function. Specific offerings required for a ritual are placed in a pavilion or on a temporary platform. On the second day of the Karya Agung festival, the important spiritual cleansing and purification ceremonies take place.
Yang tujuannya adalah untuk mengambil air suci ke laut atau menyucikan alam semesta.
The day begins with the presentation of offerings and blessings accompanied by gamelan music and chanting. During the ceremony, a priest purifies the offerings by sprinkling them with holy water and intoning prayers or mantras. The smoke of incense then wafts the essence of the offerings to their intended destination. The barong and arangda figures, which were put into specifically built homes the previous day, are now being taken out to be a vital part of the ceremonies and the procession later on. During the early afternoon, the worshippers board rented buses, open trucks, and private vans to embark on a journey to the beaches of Sukhavati to perform the spiritual cleansing called Melasti. It is a relaxing and enjoyable 30-minute ride, filled with conversation and laughter. Everyone will be dropped off close to the beaches, and the last short distance will be walked. The remaining part of the afternoon is filled with prayer in a long religious service. The priests bless and purify the congregation with sprinkles of holy water and rice. The performances at the beach are truly indigenous dances. This Rajong dance consists of a procession of young girls dressed in white and yellow. They move in a slow and stately fashion, connected by their hip sashes. The Baris dance is rooted in courtly rituals of war. The term Baris refers to a formation of warriors. In this Baris Kadek or Baris Upachara, the dancers carry a lance or spear, and a mock battle between two warriors is reenacted. At the beach, the procession ends with the offerings being thrown into the ocean, symbolically discarding the spiritually unclean, and the collection of amerta, holy water, which will be brought back to the Pura Dalem, the temple in Buntuyung, to cleanse the macrocosmos, the temple area, and the microcosmos, the people.
Puncak karya itu adalah
All ceremonies and rituals may have any number of meanings ascribed to them, but they all serve to create a sense of well-being within the individual and within the community, both of which being equally important. They help to both create and sustain the delicate balance among the various forces within Balinese cosmology. This is why our ceremonial life is so very important to us. The main ceremony, actually 6 days later, is the Puncak Karya, a birthday celebration for the temple, the Pura Dalem Buntuyung. It is a ceremony held to honor God in all its manifestations for allowing humankind to live in harmony, both spiritually and materially. The cultural and social importance of this event becomes evident through the presence of high-ranking government officials and royal representatives, which includes the princes of Ubud, who are also the main financial contributors for the event, and the supporters of the temple itself. Dancers are putting on their traditional costumes for the classical Gambu performance. In preparation for the performances later on, we see my father applying his makeup. The children are in costume and waiting for the beginning of their Rajong dance. The visitors of the Karya Agung festival are treated to a special affair, seeing one of the few all-female gamelan orchestras in Bali perform. During the hours that follow, visitors enjoy themselves listening to gamelan music and watching dances like Baris Kadek and Gambu. Gambu is a Babali dance, a ceremonial dance performed in the middle courtyard, and is also known as the ancestor of the Balinese opera. This dance was created in the Javanese Majapahit kingdom and brought to Bali in the 14th century. The dance reenacts the romantic and heroic adventures of Panji, the handsome young prince of the Malat stories. Every procession during this 3-week-long festival ends up at the Pura Dalem, the largest temple in Buntayung. Every temple is a meeting place of gods and humans. According to Balinese religion, there are various levels of heavenly interaction. The outer courtyard represents the people. The middle courtyard is the preparation area and also stages ceremonial dances. And finally, the inner sanctum, the symbolic residence of the gods, is reserved for worship, blessings, and sacred dances. In Balinese Hinduism, the spirits residing in the Pura Dalem are manifested in a number of realizations as either Rangda or a number of different barang. These sacred temple masks are powerful protectors of the temple and village. The barang, mostly a realization of Siva, is a gentle, clumsy creature with a leonine face. The costume is richly ornamented with golden mirrors and painted leather, reflecting the light as the creature moves in its comical, animal-like, shambling gait. Rangda, the symbolic realization of Devi Dhirga, wife of Shiva, is usually portrayed with a scary face, an evil witch with straggly white hair. In every temple ceremony, be it inside the Pura Dalem or even in other temples, barang and arangda often take center stage and serve to fill the ceremony with life and meaning. The show will not only feature dancing, but will also include the telling of folk stories and legends, or dramatizations of historical events. The most popular of these is the Chalonarang, and other tales include the Purana, or morality plays, and stories based on the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. For these larger epics, the cast is expanded and sufficient characters are added so the respective tales can be narrated accurately. Dances and dramatic performances form an important part of nearly every ritual on Bali. They are seen as an integral part of Balinese religion and culture and are employed as an expression of one's devotion to the gods, as well as a means of instilling centuries-old values in each new generation of the Balinese people, through the medium of movement, music, and words. The Balinese distinguish between dances that are sacred, Bali, ceremonial, Bebali, and simply for watching, Bali Balihan. The last category of dances developed exclusively among the nobility dating back to the 14th century when Bali was conquered by the great Majapahit kingdom of East Java. As a result, a number of Javanese nobles and courtiers settled in Bali, bringing with them their dances, their caste system, and a variety of ceremonies which quickly became interwoven with the rich tapestry of indigenous beliefs and rituals. Nowadays, these purely entertaining Bali Balihan dances are an integral part of the ceremonial repertoire. The first example of the Bali Balihan dance is a prembon. This dance from the early 20th century combines different elements from the classic gambu, topeng, parva, and the wayang wang. Bali-Balihan dances are secular and performed in the jaba, or outer courtyard, usually beyond the prescribed sacred space itself, although often this space will be consecrated by a priest before the performance. Into this category fall a number of classical and modern forms like premban, baris, legong, kebyar, and others. Another example of Bali-Balihan is the classical baris. Here we see a young boy performing this energetic warrior dance. Bebeli dances are ceremonial, performed in the Jaba Tengah, or middle courtyard of the temple. This is the meeting point of the divine and the worldly, and these are mostly dance dramas whose stories derive from the Hindu Javanese epics, including Chalonarong, Gambu, and Wayang Wang. As with many Balinese dance dramas, the Chalonarong is a historical depiction originating in Java. This magical dance of duality, which has many versions, has several purposes. It is performed to celebrate the anniversary of the Temple of the Dead, or Pura Dalem, and to remedy ills that have been blamed on practitioners of black magic. The Bali performances include shadow puppet plays and the sacred Rajang, Bariskade, Memendet, and Songyang trance dances. These dances are performed in the Jerawan, or innermost courtyard of the temple. It is here that the sacred icons are kept and worshipped, and these dance forms are often group dances with no dramatic elements. They are considered indigenously Balinese, and as with all Balinese dances, are performed to propitiate the ancestral spirits. A Memendet dance is performed by the married women of the village, though in some cases young women and girls join in as well. The women carry offerings of incense for the gods on their divine journey home. A procession is formed and the women weave around the temple grounds, stopping before each shrine to offer their gifts. The highlights of the evening are the dramatic magic and trance performances. They feature the Barong as Banaspati Raja, Lord of the Jungle, the protector of the villages, and Rangda as Devi Dhirga, the witch goddess. Every community owns a set of the costumes and masks of both characters. These masks have great power in themselves and are kept out of sight in a special sacred place, uncovered only when actually in use. The story begins with the Barong entering the stage. He prances about, shaking his great girth and clacking his jaws. He is then followed by the Telek and Jauk, two groups of dancers wearing grinning white masks depicting deities and demons respectively. the Rangda appears, challenging the barong to a fight. In the meantime, a group of dancers sitting on a mat enter into a trance. These are the assistants of the barong against Rangda. The barong cannot withstand Rangda's evil power, so the dancers rush to his assistance to attack Rangda. With their eyes glued on their opponent, they advance towards the witch, who awaits them with her white cloth, her magic weapon. She uses the cloth to cast an evil spell. By this spell, the krises in the hands of the men turn against them, but the magic of the barong hardens their flesh, so that although they push the sharp points of the daggers with all their might against their naked chests, none of them sustain even the slightest of injuries. At the end of the performance, priests are sprinkling each man with holy water. Gradually, the hysterical dancers come out of trance, though still in a daze as if they were unaware of the gravity of this dangerous ritual. The barong still moves among them, shaking his beard as protection. This performance is very real and very frightening. The dancers are never allowed to get too far out of control. If they do, their krises are taken away from them and they are sprinkled with holy water to bring them out of trance. The fight of barong and Rangda is also the topic of traditional dramatic narratives. The most famous is the story of Cholonarong. This is a reenactment of an ancient tale from East Java about a widow who could not find a suitor for her daughter. After years of terrorizing the country as an evil witch queen, she challenges the spirits and witches of the village to a final combat. The story's climax is a struggle of power and a battle of magical wits. There are many variations of the Cholonarong dance drama, but common to all are appearances of barong and Rangda. The barong is the magical protector of Balinese villages. As lord of the forest, he is the opponent of Rangda, the witch who rules over the spirits of darkness. Barong and Rangda are opposed in a never-ending fight, that of good and evil. The last evening event is a burial ceremony, directed and supervised by local princes and community leaders. The Bagya, a symbol for happiness, fertility, and health, is being buried together with numerous offerings. It is another form of achieving spiritual balance in life, happily returning seeds back to the earth and starting a new life cycle. Every member of the community passes by the burial site, throwing a handful of soil over the Bagya, offering a brief prayer. It is a quiet, somber atmosphere during these last prayers. Finally, the temple grounds slowly empty, everyone returning back to their homes. The previous symbolic burial of the Bagya was not the last ceremony of the Karya Agung festival. The final closing ceremonies and Thanksgiving rituals are traditionally held during the day at a specific place where the mountains meet the ocean. The destination today is Pura Goa Lava, the Bat Cave Temple, one of the 9 most significant Balinese temples located along the coast of southeastern Bali, only a short 1-hour ride away from Buntayung. After arrival at the temple area, the worshippers prepare for the ceremonies, which are held at 2 locations. First at the ocean in front of the temple, and afterwards in the temple itself. The purpose of both ceremonies is to thank the gods for the success of the Karya Agung festival through offerings and prayer. Aside from Pura Goa Lava's religious significance, it is also a very popular attraction, due to both its history and the thousands of bats densely covering the walls of the cave entrance. For the Balinese, the dragon Nagabasuki still lives in these caves, which possibly extend all the way to the temple of Besaki, the mother temple of Balinese Hinduism, some 30 kilometers away in the northern part of the island. This ancient reptile is seen as the caretaker and protector of the Earth's equilibrium. He steadies and stabilizes the world by wrapping himself around Bedouin, the world's supporting turtle, beliefs which stem from pre-Hindu animism. Many interesting stories are associated with Pura Goa Lava and its most famous inhabitant. According to one popular story, the dragon Basuki rests peacefully in front of his cave. A local gambling man, Idamanuk Ankaran, on a desperate search for betting money, approaches and steals a large pearl embedded in the tail of the dragon. Idamanuk runs into the forest trying to hide in an unsuccessful attempt to escape the wrath of Basuki, who immediately notices the loss of this most prized jewel. Basuki follows the footprints of the thief, and by licking one of the footprints he casts a deadly spell on Idamanuk, who soon after catches fire and burns to death. Idamanuk's grief-stricken father, Empu Siddhi Mantra, sincerely apologizes to the dragon and asks for his forgiveness. He also begs the dragon to return his son back into the world of the living. In return, he promises to forever serve him at the Besaki temple. His wish is granted, and by the magic powers of Nagabasuki, Idamanuk returns, cleansed from all evil, realizing his great good fortune. Besaki Temple is a very holy and beautiful place. A place of unity between Hindu and Buddhist beliefs in harmonious coexistence with ancestral worship and diverse traditions. For me, it is always peaceful. It is a spiritual place where all personal differences or cultural separations have no influence.